Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Streamed live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
In Greater Cincinnati, the United States, and the world, thank you for joining us at Diversity Conversations. I am Tommy Lewis, President and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting, and I'm joined by my friend and my brother.
Good morning, Tommy Lewis. How are you, my friend?
Doing well, Eric. It's great to see you.
Good. I was in the back room, in the green room, trying to get some last second data for Tommy and I, but we are so glad to join you, our community, this Saturday morning for another of these wonderful conversations around diversity. Tommy, how was your week, man?
My week was good, Eric. It's a lot of planning, a lot of administrative work to get ready for the next several weeks. But there was we had some wins, Eric. We had some wins on the business front.
Excellent.
Again, I want to continue to shout out my team for such hard work. And we were able to re-secure an opportunity with the city of Louisville Metropolitan Sewer District.
Excellent, excellent.
So we have been working with them for 5 or 6 years, Eric, maybe a little bit more than that. And we had the opportunity. That opportunity was awarded to another company that I'm familiar with.
Yeah,
we actually work with that company out of St. Louis, a great firm.
Mm-hmm.
But there was another couple of opportunities out there that we threw our name in the hat, and we won those opportunities. So very, very excited. And this opportunity is a little bit new, whereby I have to engage a couple of other subject matter experts. It's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, just a smidgen, but bringing in some folks who have a particular skill set. And that's what I love. And that's what makes my weeks go great, when there's a greater opportunity for me and the company to grow and learn.
Right. It's a beautiful thing. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, is that you don't have any really boundaries or things that constrain what you're able to do. And we at our core are hunters, service providers. We're trying to make the world a better place. But you got to go out here and get it. You got to kill what you're going to eat. And so kudos to you on that, Tommy. This week was another exciting week for me. I am grateful. Got a new staff person that's doing a great job on business growth and development. She is really a wonderful person and has come in like gangbusters. She's got a photographic memory. And for me, Tommy, as a boss and supervisor, whenever somebody that I supervise is not delivering exactly what I'm looking for, I do not start by blaming them. I start by saying, it's not on you, it's totally on me. Because for two reasons. Number one, I'm ADHD. And so I know that sometimes I may not be always as clear around some of the requests, or I'm still fishing around for what the right assignment is. And so what I let her know is that this is a partnership, that both of us are working together for your success. And we'll keep, and I want you to use your own voice as well. And so she has really appreciated that. She's got a wonderful attitude, a wonderful learner. The other thing that I try to do, Tommy, is I don't want to be so prescriptive that I sort of eliminate an individual's ability to think independently on how they might approach something, or what they might do differently, or even the kind of work that they ultimately want to do. So even though, I've hired her to look at business growth and development, I'm still saying, what is your sweet spot? What are you passionate about? What do you actually like doing the most? Because we got to make sure that we put that on your plate as well. So I've been grateful to have somebody with a great attitude who's come in, and contributing already, an eager learner, and one who is appreciative of my management style too. So I'm grateful for that. We also won a couple of new contracts this week, and so we're excited about that. Whenever we get new business, I bonus my staff, because I want everybody to feel the value of a win, and so that's been good too. So, and then the other thing, Tommy, is that I'm still working on my recovery from total knee replacement surgery. I went and saw the doctor this week, the surgeon, 3 weeks after the surgery. And he said, Eric, it looks amazing, man. He said, you look great. He said, you can do anything. I said, can I golf? He said, yeah, you can do anything, man. He said, you can swim, whatever you want to do, you can do. He said, whatever the pain tolerance that you can take. And so as soon as he said that, Tommy, I went right to the driving range to see if I could hit the ball. I took my 8-iron and my sand wedge out, man. I was smoking that 8-iron. And then yesterday I called Tommy, I called Wendell up, my buddies, my golf buddies. I said, I'm going to Beach Creek. And then Tommy, he's working now. Yeah. And so I went over to Beach Creek, played 9 holes, and was grateful. I was out there with my nephew, Stanley, and shot a 49 and felt good about that. But I also know that I'm not probably going to be returning to golf yet, because I do not want anything to even run a small risk of sort of derailing the progress that we're making. I am still in pain. Yeah. There's still pain connected to trying to do this physical therapy. Yeah. And I thought maybe my knee had tightened up yesterday, and I was thinking, man, I don't want to lose any of that progress around flexibility and things like that. But then I did my exercise this morning and it was fine. But it's just, Tommy, it's a journey. Yeah. I was at the physical therapist on Friday, and real nice young lady. But Tommy, do you smile much when you're in pain?
Not at all. It's not funny. It's not fun. It's actually painful.
I'm not happy. I wish I could kick it with you and just be jovial and my natural self, entertain you possibly. Every single station that I went to, this is not fun.
It's not fun.
Twist my knee all the way back up to the other side. It's not fun. That is not fun. This hurts.
How do you feel?
Horrible. That's how I feel. Horrible. This is not fun. There's nothing fun about it. I'm simply trying to make the progress, but I am not happy. And then I just walked out like a boxer that had just been beat for 12 rounds. Yeah. Just walked on out to the car, Tommy.
Just walked out and lived out.
Yeah. Is this progress? So that's the journey that we're on. And so I was euphoric there at first because I could walk and I was alive.
Yeah.
Now the thrill is gone. And so now it's just carrying around these new parts and trying to navigate all of that. And it tests your mettle, and it has you in a lot of conversations with yourself. Yeah. And, and so, glad I was okay. Woo, Eye of the Tiger's back. Yeah. Now it's just like, man, you got to really dig it out. And but I'm grateful for that as well. Tommy,
before we go, Eric, I would be remiss. This week, I was able to take a flight down to Greensboro, North Carolina, where the North Carolina A&T State University is, and dropped off my son, Bryce Lewis, for his freshman year studying biology pre-med. We went down to North Carolina A&T and checking in on Thursday. The check-in time was 9 o'clock to 11 a.m. But I had told my son many, many times, hey, I've checked into many dorm rooms in my life.
Uh-huh.
And it's no problem with getting there early.
Mm-hmm.
And early doesn't mean 15 minutes. It means 30 minutes, hour.
Yeah, beat the crowd.
So my sister and I, Eric, we end up getting to campus at 7 a.m.
Okay.
We got there 2 hours before the
Right.
official check-in.
Right.
There's no other people there except some people that work, at the dorm.
Right.
We saw this one truck pull up. I look inside the truck as they were driving up. There were several heads in the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a family. That's why I say that.
Right.
That's a family.
Right.
Right. They jump out. I'm just watching them. They go into the dorm. About 5 minutes, they don't come out. 10 minutes, they don't come out.
Okay.
I run around the corner. It's now 7:10.
Mm-hmm.
I run around the corner, and there's folks there for registration, the young students. I said, "Can we check in?" It's like, absolutely. I called Bryce, who was with his mother.
Right.
Right. Hey, how far out are you?
Right.
Let's go.
They checking in.
Let's check in.
Right.
Not to wait till 9 o'clock to 11,
Right.
but 7:30 be
Right.
done by 9.
Right. Right.
Man, it was a blessed opportunity.
Right.
Bryce took considerable time to design his room. His roommate, Anthony, from Atlanta, Georgia, and his family came in. So the room got a little bit crowded. There were about 8 to 10 people in the room trying to move these 2 young people into their rooms. But I'm so incredibly proud of Bryce. I was joking with him saying, "I'll see you in 4 years."
Yeah.
Right. And I'm joking because I say, his mother was like, "Can't wait to see you in Thanksgiving.
Right.
Can't wait to see you Christmas." I was like, no.
I'm gonna call you in 2 hours.
Yeah, I will see you in 4 years.
Right.
Right. He's like, "Oh, Dad, that's all right." I was like, whatever you think, Bryce, at the end of the day.
Right.
But you're a grown man now. You're a young man.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go through what you have to go through to have your story.
Mm-hmm.
Write your story.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to shout out Bryce Lewis down in North Carolina, A&T State University, Greensboro, North Carolina, and all the other young people who are either going into college, wrapping up their last year of college, or even simply returning back to school. Take every day as a blessing and a benefit, because it is sometimes taken for granted, the opportunity to get an education.
Right.
That's one thing that no one can take away from us is our education.
That's exactly right. And so I know that Bryce has taken up the quality of the student population there as a result of him being in attendance. He's a superstar young man. He's got wonderful maturity, brilliance, just adding to, and I think that Tommy and Penny, you all can be so proud of the work that you've done with raising this young man. This morning, what we wanted to talk about is, I've been just this is political season, silly season, some might say. And I'm just listening to the campaigns as they're going back and forth. And I think that Kamala Harris couldn't have rolled out a stronger presidential campaign. People say it was the honeymoon, but now here we are, several weeks in, and she's still on a strong roll, her and her vice president. She just had her speech yesterday, a policy speech on her economic development plan. And when it's a successful rollout is when there's no news made. Your objective in politics is actually to make no news. Because if they're talking about you too big, then you done made some mess. Former President Trump had done his economic speech the day before on Thursday. When he was in his binder, he had props behind him. He had a binder. When he was reading the binder, using the props, he was fine. But as soon as the first questions came, Tommy, I could see that the first 2 questions that he's picked were softballs. He picked people that he knew from conservative networks that were going to ask him pre-planned questions. Can you talk about how the Democrats are killing us with credit card expenses or whatever, and so he just went on a tangent. As soon as the first real question came, he just went off.
Did he?
Lost it, man. He lost it. He started saying They said, well, one interviewer asked him, she said, many in your party are saying, stay on message and stop the personal attacks at Vice President Kamala Harris. What's your response? I have the right to insult her. I feel like that's my right. And then he just went off, man, talking about all those kind of things. And I was looking at the polls and what's happening in the polls. And so Kamala Harris has really increased the African-American support now, where Joe Biden was at 67%. She's now up to 77%. And then Donald Trump is at 13% support amongst African-Americans. I looked at that and said, what? 13%? How can you even get that much? And then what we're seeing is that a lot of the shift for Kamala Harris has been among Black women, that in many ways, Black men and brown men, men of color are still sort of leaning into Trump. And I think that people have the right and the freedom, let me make this clear, to vote for whoever you want, whoever's policies you think are right. I would say to you that you are completely free to do what you think is right. So I have no issue with that at all. But I do have an issue with sexism. And I believe that it's something that we don't talk about enough. Men don't talk about it enough. Black men don't talk about it enough. Men of color are quick to understand the impact of racism on us. We're quick to understand the impact of classism sometimes, but we are not always embracing how sexism affects women of color and how our own sexism. Tommy, you and I have been doing this work for years, and I've had so many workshops where men who have women that are making more money than them are struggling with that. And yet they'll say, someone will say, I wish my wife would make more than me. I'd love to be that house husband. No, they're not interested in being the house husband because they know that that's a position that they disrespect. And so I know that Donald Trump has disrespected any opponent he's ever had, but some of the things that he's lobbying at her, just not smart, not intelligent, are based in sexism and racism as well. So I wanted us today on the show to talk about the negative impacts that sexism has on women. And what I've done here is I've looked at both the workplace, Tommy, and in just everyday society. So let me start with one. If you want to react to that, let me let you do that. And then we'll come back to some of the things that the research is saying.
So I was reflecting back to what you said about Donald Trump and his press conference. I had not followed it, but I did receive a feed around his comments or response to the question of around the personal attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And what I remember, Eric, is that he said, and you all have to go back to the tape to confirm this, that he said that he is entitled to lobby, that's my word, lobby those personal attacks. He's entitled to deliver personal attacks.
Right.
When I heard that, we do a lot of work and we talk about entitlement. And an entitlement is this aura, and it's a reality that one is better or superior than another. And so it's a mindset, it's a behavior, and it's a speech. In this case, if Donald Trump did say that,
he did,
his mindset and his speech were one and the same.
That's right.
I am saying
Couldn't help
what
himself.
I think.
Right.
I'm entitled to talk about anyone.
Right.
At the same time, many of us know by our witnessing his meltdowns when others talk about him,
right,
that he may not, and I don't know, maybe other people who are entitled may not be able to take the same medicine that they deal out
Cannot.
to themselves.
Cannot.
So this is a kind of a come home conversation.
Yes, it is.
Because we have two men talking about sexism.
That's right.
Today.
That's right.
So this may be some tough pills for some people to swallow.
Right.
We encourage and invite our community of women, men to chime in because this topic of pay inequity, gender discrimination, gender entitlement, that because I'm a quote unquote man or male, I then have hegemony over the earth and everything with it. I will close by saying that we all will be judged. Sometimes that judgment is in our life.
That's right,
Eric. It's the life that we live, the things that we're not protected from, right? The things that we're not protected from that happen to us, there's a reason.
Right.
And there's a reason why there's things that don't happen to us because we're protected from them.
Excellent, Tommy. I want to go back to some of what you were saying about Donald Trump. And I think that this is going to be in many ways the great undoing and unraveling of Donald Trump. Because my view is, Tommy, that he was so excited when he was running against Joe Biden. I mean, it was just a coronation. We're laughing. We're doing ceremonies. We're picking out curtains for the White House again. And got our 2025 team on this. This is hilarious. I don't even have to dog out for Joe. Yeah. I ain't got to hit him that hard no more because he's just falling over all by himself. And then the ticket changed. And when it changed to Kamala Harris, I think that, and it's clear to us that he has no real answer. He doesn't really know how to label her. And so all of his old tricks, all those trick bags, they're getting away from him. His team, he sees the polls. He can't stand what's happening in the polls. He's going down. She's going up. He's fascinated, fixated over everything about her. He saw her picture on the cover of Time magazine and just lost it because he loves Time magazine. He loved his own cover on there. He saw the beautiful drawing that was done of her and he had to just say it out of his mouth. Oh, she was so beautiful. I mean, she even looked like Melania. I mean, what's that got to do with anything? I mean, just whatever's in his mind, he's saying. But here's the problem. When, and this is sort of a precursor to this conversation, when you do not believe that women are your equal, then it begins to traumatize you when you see them having so much success. He's going to have to now be on a debate stage with her. It's like what I used to say about President Obama. It's easier to talk about him than it is to talk to him. So people can say anything they wanted, but when he came in the room, I'll never forget the day he went to the whole Republican Party and talked to them about his Obamacare. And any questions? Forget the media. I'm going into the lion's den. All the Republican congressmen. What you got to say? What questions do you have? What points do you want to make? Nobody could say anything. Okay, well, bye. And then once he left, then they all got microphones. And so I would say to you that that's really where we are with him. So to give an example, and then I'm gonna start with the personal ways in which sexism impacts women in our society. And the other thing I would say to you as a precursor, that because Tommy and I are introducing this conversation, that does not mean that either of us is exempt. We recognize that as a man, you will be a recovering sexist from today to the rest of your life. You're never going to graduate to the place where you never have any sexist thoughts, behaviors, things that you have to work on. And so we are more like tour guides through this conversation than we are as expert judges. We are not trying to beat up on men We're simply saying all of us must do better. And if we want a world that's open to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, then we have to be some of the first partakers of work in this space. One of the things that Donald Trump loves to say, he loves to say that if Kamala Harris is president, we will be the least respected country in the entire world, that no world leader will ever respect her. But we remember, I even sent this to the Harris team. Just, sometimes at night, just my knees get me. So I just send emails to random people that will never read them. So I sent the email. I sent the email to Kamala Harris, Yep, Ken Wilson, this is live. We are glad you're with us, man. Sent an email to Kamala Harris, and I said, here's a line that you should use. You should say, the most disrespected the weakest we've ever looked on the world stage was when you were on stage with Putin, and you were literally kowtowing to him, and you literally said that you believed him over your entire intelligence department. That's the most embarrassing moment of any president in my history, and maybe the history of this country, that you could be on a world stage with another world leader and you get this small. I mean, Putin's a short man.
Yeah.
Here's Putin. Donald Trump is here physically, but on that stage, he went down to here. It was pathetic. He said, he said that he told the truth. I don't know any reason why he would lie. Once you've done that, I don't think you have any right to ever say that somebody's going to embarrass us as a nation when you embarrass us and the power of America and the power of our intelligence workers, because you were small, because Putin may have something on you. So I just think, man, but that's sexism. Sexism will allow you to be that small and in your own mind somehow think that you're a man.
Eric, I can't wait until this debate. As you were talking, I'm thinking, and I know folks want to chime in, have things to say, right? Please, community,
come on,
share. We'll post it. Everything. When you were talking, I'm thinking a couple of things. One, that I grew up with a mother and two sisters, and I experienced the power and influence of women, whereby I've directly have experienced where a man was at his highest point of anger, and how a woman that he loved and she loved him could calm him down with her presence and her voice. Tremendous power. I'm talking about an enraged man that would do supernatural things standing in front of a woman who may have been a foot shorter, looking up at the man and say something to him, and he say something like, I'm just saying, Ma, I'm just saying. He better watch his, I'm just saying. And then she says something else and he walks off. I've also seen women and heard a woman, Vice President Harris, say, I hear that you're talking about me. Come see me.
Oh, yeah. And
then
you got something to say, say it to my face.
Say it to my face. Come see me. Come see me.
Right.
And that's when, Eric, for this debate, what we may see is the collision between one's
two styles,
entitlement in the head, right, and one's freedom to say what they want to say. In other words, in my head, I'm entitled to say whatever I want to say.
Right.
In my speech and behavior, I can say whatever I want to say. I believe we're going to see a collision of that we're going to actually observe a catastrophic public humiliation of oneself. In other words, we may hear a racial epithet, right? We may hear it.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because can't help it.
We may hear a
just will snap
a gender.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Going to say those things because that's what's in it. Right.
That emotion that's going to be created by possibly a calm, calculated, measured person who understands her power.
Yeah.
And understands her gender and race.
Right.
All of this is not entitlement, it's understanding and awareness.
That's right. That's right.
And when you are standing on that confidence, then your fight for equity, your fight for justice is with integrity.
Right.
And that's why in the workplace, when there's pay inequity,
right,
those women who believe that I am doing, and know, they know, not just believe, I'm doing the exact same job as my male counterpart, and I know I'm getting paid differently. Right? Vice President Harris, I am here. I am the vice president.
Right. Right.
I'm the number 2 person in this world.
Right.
Already.
That's right.
You are trying to get back in my house. Watch yourself, because you don't come into my house rearranging furniture.
Right.
Or you're going to get dealt with.
Right. 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 So we want to I'm going to specifically reach out and thank my friend Phil Waddell for joining us this morning in this conversation. We are so open to people of all political persuasions joining us. The comment that he made is no wars under Trump. I think that's kind of a luck of the draw. There are wars happening all the time, all over the world. So that's for every president, there's going to be those kind of things. But what we want to look at is what is our response to war, and what are we saying and doing, and is it in fact responsible? So under this president, Biden, Putin decided to go into Ukraine, and he's going to try to make quick work of it. He's going into a sovereign democratic country, and he's now going to try to take control of that country. Now, our job in the world, we want to live in a world where people of sovereign nations are free to govern themselves without outsiders coming in and literally trying to take over your country and kill out your people. Let's look at what Donald Trump said when Putin went into Ukraine. He said it was a smart move. Now, what kind of integrity? Because I think that's what this election is ultimately going to be won and lost on. It's a matter of character, and it's a matter of integrity. And I would say that before Donald Trump in this country, we knew that much better. We were very clear that your character mattered. What you said and what you stood for mattered. Now we try to say that it's all about policy, and leadership has nothing to do with character. It has everything to do with character. And I think that the wisdom of the Harris ticket, and I think that people can have a lot of issues with policies and say, I don't like some of the things that are more progressive. I'm good with all of that. But I would say that strategically, what they've decided to do was to take the high road. When Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high, that seems to be the tact that Vice President Kamala Harris is taking, that she wants to bring joy and vision for the future. That's the strategy that they're going after. And Trump is really going after the aggrieved strategy, the complaints of the past. And I think that's going to be that character thing that affects, that ultimately is his demise.
Yeah, and sometimes when we're talking about gender bias and gender inequity, sexism, basically, at the end of the day, and we have to understand in this conversation what the dominant culture is. When we're talking about sexism, oftentimes that is the dominant culture is male and the non-dominant culture is female. So that's what we're talking about. Oftentimes, Eric, we're not hearing about sexism when females are pressing and having the hegemony over the rights, liberties, freedoms, and benefits of their gender. Even to this point now, there are certain things and policies and decisions are made about women and their physical bodies that are not coming from majority women. They're coming from a sexist viewpoint of men dictating what women can or cannot do with their own bodies.
Right.
You need to slow that down.
Yeah, absolutely.
That a man or men are putting into policy.
I can't even believe we're here.
And law.
Yeah, I can't even believe we're here.
Right.
Right.
And say at any time, basically, they're saying that revisiting an old playbook of creating chattel. So slavery based on racism was creating chattel, making people property. When you say that you have no control over your body, you're not a human.
Right.
Right. We devalue you. We understand your purpose,
right.
And it may be procreation. It may be for my own pleasure and enjoyment. It may be for me to subjugate you based on my insecurities, and that subjugation may be through violence, verbal or physical. It may be just through some rule of thumb that I can do whatever I want to do because I'm a man, and you are the victim woman because I am entitled. This is my birthright, right? However, most, maybe north of 99% of us actually come from women.
Right. Right.
That's the oxymoron, Eric.
Right.
That we are born from women.
Right. Right.
Hear me?
Right.
And then we come out of that thing, right? Not calling women a thing. That process to say, yeah, you made me. I was in your body. But now that I'm out and I'm looking at these other men, I devalue you and everything about you.
Right. And so, again, Phil, I'm certain that we're not going to change your mind on all these things today. Again, I want to thank you for joining us. But I want to say to you that the issue of abortion was conscripted by Republicans, the Republican strategists years ago, in order to make it impossible for Christians to vote Democratic. So that's what it was. It was a political ploy in order to ensure that Christians could not vote Democratic if they are somehow for abortion. I will say to you that we then have to refer back to the Bible, where God said no sin is greater than another. And so that means that all political parties on the no sin thing, they're all going to lose. We are all going to lose. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. I would say to you that here's the other thing, and I'm going to ask you to do something, Phil. I'm going to invite you to become curious. Last week, Tommy and I talked about political tribalism. And so it is very easy for any of us to just continue to put out our talking points and the things that we have been rehearsed around saying. But here's what I would say to you. The Supreme Court said to us that they could not really make any real rulings about the Second Amendment and guns and automatic weapons because they were too complex. I want you to think about that. Hold those peas in your mouth for just a minute, Bill. If the Supreme Court said that they could not make any laws, additional laws around automatic weapons of war because of the complexity, the complex nature of weapons, well, what in the world made them think that they could go into this women's reproductive health care area and start making laws there? I would say to you that when we have blinders on and we're so interested in our issue, then we never think about the complexity and all of the other things that are consequences of us being focused on our single focused agenda. We now that the Roe v. Wade has been overturned, we're seeing now that women and their doctors are petrified around if the woman's life is in jeopardy, what can they do then? If the woman and the doctor are making a decision that's going to affect the health of her. We're even going into IVFs, looking at in vitro fertilization, and saying those that are saying that we're for families are saying now we want to take away that right. Some are even saying that contraception, we want to take away those rights. And I'll just tell you that what I know is that God, Almighty God, has given us the freedom of choice. And so if God gave us the freedom to serve him or not, who are we to take away choices and freedoms around how people manage their own bodies? And I think that's the issue. I don't expect, again, to convince you of anything. I think that we all have the right to have a moral standing around abortion and any of those other issues. Everybody has the freedom to believe what you want to believe. I think that when we start creating laws that go into people's homes and start telling people what they can and cannot do, and there's so many nuances around those, and that's what we're seeing is that people's lives are in jeopardy. Doctors are fearful of losing their freedom over sometimes just trying to deal with the healthcare needs. And I'm saying to you that the sexism part is that men too often feel liberated to make decisions about women's bodies. And we would not accept any of that. Most of us in our own marriages, we'd rather have our wife, quote unquote, tie her tubes than us to sort of get, surgeries done on ourselves. And I'd say I'm included in the male attitude around that. But let's hit a couple of the areas that we want to talk about in terms of sexism. Social interactions and expectations. Sexist attitudes can lead to expectations that women will adhere to traditional gender roles, influencing how they are treated in social settings. This can include expectations around behavior, appearance, and roles within the family and social groups. Tommy, I'm going to start here with myself, and then I'm going to open it up to you and to any in our community. Again, we're looking at how is sexism affecting women in this society, and what responsibility do we as men have to continue to grow and to work on our own belief systems and our own behaviors so that we can be powerful allies and fair sort of leaders. I remember when I was reading in the scripture, the part of the Bible that said the man is the head of the household. But I didn't really read far enough to get to the point where it said that then he would sort of treat his wife as Christ has treated the church. And there's such a large degree of humility. What I've learned is that my leadership role in my house means that I have to be the first one to apologize to my wife, to my children. I have to be the first one to say I'm wrong. I have to be the first one to eat my words and shut up. I have to be the first one to jump out of the argument, even if I'm just losing when I'm right. That's what leadership means. And I lean into it periodically. Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I get it wrong. But as I look at sexism, I'll never forget when I was in college. I just got out of graduate school, got my master's degree. I was on my way to Atlanta. Dr. Jeanette Taylor interviewed me for a position at the University of Cincinnati. She knew my dad who had passed away, and I decided to stay in Cincinnati because she knew my father, and I thought that she could be a tremendous role model. Tommy, so here I am working in the Division of Evening College and Continuing Education. I'm one of two men in the whole college, and I wasn't married then. And so I felt like the women in the department, they were playing with me like they were cats and I was a ball. So they would just ask me questions and then laugh, hey, what kind of wife are you looking for? And at that point, I was young and dumb. So I started answering questions. And I remember, saying some things that eventually I came into my office early one morning, and there was a big sign over my door, Tommy, that said, Eric Ellis is a male chauvinist pig. I was horrified. And it was on that old computer paper. You know, the old computer paper? Yeah. So here it is above my door at 7 a.m. So I go up there, I ball up that I run down to Dr. Jeanette Taylor's office. Dr. Taylor, look what was over my door. What do you think about this? I'm in trouble. I got something to work on. What's wrong with me? She said, Eric, she said, you're not a male chauvinist pig. That's just probably one of the women here that like you. Now, that's what she said to me, but I didn't stop there. I started thinking about some of the conversations that I was having. And I realized that when women were asking me what kind of wife I was looking for, I was describing a traditional woman that looked a lot like my mother. Now, I'd say to you that there's nothing wrong with a woman who chooses to be a traditional homemaker. That's fine. But I do understand how women in the workplace, if that's my picture of perfection, how they might see that as potentially sexist. And so I started making adjustments. And I would say that for the rest of my life, I'll continue learning and making adjustments. But this whole notion of the kinds of expectations that we have for women, I would say that the hardest thing to be in this world is a mother who's also in the workplace.
Yeah.
She can't win. Sometimes professional women say, why are you wasting yourself? You know, you could be so much more if you delayed your family. Women that are traditional mothers are saying, who's raising your kids? So they can't win for losing. And so, Tommy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, from a corporate perspective, there have been many policies in HR, driven by HR, which is human resources, around the workforce and the workplace. And many of those policies over many years have been leaning toward the benefits of being a male.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And so even to the point of giving birth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let me say this slowly because there's some folks on this podcast or in the audience in the community that may know something different. Tommy Lewis has never met a man that has birthed a child.
Nope.
I say that because, and I'm only speaking for me, I only know women that do that.
Mm-hmm.
I do know women that work in the same companies as men. And when it comes time for giving birth, I've seen companies have maybe 1, 2, and 3 days of leave, maternity leave. That's now, Eric. That was not always the case. We have to do our history. You all know me. I'm a history buff, going back a couple of thousand years, going back to ancient times. We can just go back 40, 50, 60 years ago at companies. They didn't have these policies in place.
No.
To the point of, if you do get pregnant, you're going to get fired or you have to leave.
Mm.
Now, a woman, and I'm assuming this, would never tell themselves that I want to have a baby, and as a result to having a baby or children, I will terminate my employment.
Right. Fire me, please.
That doesn't happen. That's sexism.
Mm-hmm.
We can go down the line with those type of policies in the workplace. So when we think about the expectations, I have one expectation of women and men. Be a human.
Mm.
Be a human. You can always, I'll speak for myself. I can always tell narrow-minded people. I can point them out.
Mm-hmm.
I can point them out by what they say.
Mm-hmm.
I can point them out by the experiences that they share. They're narrow, right? Some folks have only lived in their 10-mile radius of their home, and they may be in their 50s or 60s or 70s.
Right.
Haven't traveled anywhere.
Right.
Haven't seen anyone. So the 4 and 5 women that they've ever met are the 4 and 5 women that they've ever met.
Right.
There are millions, if not billions, of people, women on this earth. So I say, who is the authority on the other person? Who's the authority? Right? I think it can get so convoluted and so detailed. This is me now, Eric. Mm-hmm. This is me. That the issues can get so convoluted that I have to decide how much time and energy am I going to give to the problem, right? if I don't want to be a part of the solution.
Right.
So I engage with people all the time that don't want to be a part of the solution.
Right.
They just throw out sound bites, right? They really don't want to be a part of the solution. Be out or be talked about, right? That's the old college saying.
Right.
Be
Right.
out
Right.
or be talked about.
Right.
And that's why I love diversity conversations, because debating is something that we thrive off of. But when it comes down to topics like this, it's a lot of men talking a lot of mess.
Yeah, a lot of men talking a lot of mess and not wanting to accept our responsibility for the sexism and the way it oftentimes benefits us. As I look at the current day Taliban, they are now turning back the clock on women in their cultures. Education, out of school. You don't need that.
Yep.
And I mean, it's just, we can see that clearly in this country. Most of us can see that clearly. So we poo-poo them and then brag about we're not them.
Yeah.
We're just not that far away from that because we are looking to create policies, practices, laws, expectations that benefit us. The third area is sort of media representation. Women often face sexist portrayals in media where they're depicted in stereotypical or demeaning roles. This can influence public perception and self-perception, impacting women's self-esteem and the opportunities they pursue.
Let me take a stab at this first, Eric. I would invite anyone in our listening earshot to take a watch, not a listen, to watch any news outlet or any place that you're receiving information. If you see a woman, do you ever, and be honest with yourself, say anything in your head like, she's pretty, she's beautiful, that's a nice dress, I like her hair? Do you say any of those descriptors of her physical attributes based on what you see? If you do, got a tinge of sexism, right?
Right.
Meaning, meaning that I am this, and I'm seeing an image through this media. I'm seeing an image of something that I either am going to judge it, shame it, or blame it. I judge it, I like it, or I don't. Her hair looks a certain way. Wow, she just won the gold medal. But her hair, right? Or she's a blonde, as you can see, and we judge it. We don't know if she's a natural blonde. She can be a white woman and not be a natural blonde.
Right.
But we see a person of color, a woman of color, and they have blonde hair, then we want to immediately jump to that's not her real hair. We start to judge. But if you're thinking as you're watching the show about their physical attributes, where's your mind at?
Right.
Men can be so fickle,
Right.
so silly. We're adult children,
Right.
many times,
Right.
right?
And the reality is that we have been conditioned that way. Doesn't justify it, but we have to understand the conditioning that we've received. And I'm going to say that Tommy and I are victims of that same conditioning. You hear women say oftentimes that men are more comfortably sexist until they have a daughter. And then all of a sudden, they start looking at the whole world differently. I could certainly say that it comes home to me more clearly that my oldest child is my daughter. And I can tell you that I quietly watch as she judges herself through the lens of society. This generation has been overrun by the impact of social media. And so they have all of these photo editing tools that they'll use. My boys are the best at it, that can make you look Hollywood. you literally can look famous because so many of us are not as interested as putting our real image forward because we don't want to necessarily get the critique and the negative criticism that comes back from a world of judgmental people. But when I see my children begin to wonder if they're going to be able to find true love based upon this package and a sexist world that hurts beyond what words could ever describe. And I think it then compels me to consciously and perpetually be interested in trying to fight against a sexist system that would have women being objectified. And that's what you're talking about, Tommy, objectified. And Tommy just really put the test in your court. When you do something like that, Tommy, you're saying, look, Eric and I, we ain't trying to judge. You say, here's the litmus test. You do it. I ain't got to do it. You do it. When you see him, it's the first thing that you'll say. And I know that Judy used to call me on that a lot. And so then I started, making sure I was making comments about men as well. That don't make it no better.
No.
Because it actually doesn't hurt men in the same way. If a man is big and wide, he got a huge gut, all he got to do is throw some chains on. Throw some chains on, man, and he's a big man.
Big man.
Successful. It doesn't affect him because we don't judge him in the same way. And so we have to look at what are we doing as a society? What is our responsibility as men to step forward and to try to make the world a better place by making ourselves better? Let's see what one of our community has said. I was just reflecting on that. What is wrong about us liking something or appreciating the beauty in others?
I don't think anything is wrong with it.
No.
Right? The test that I offered up is what comes to your mind. It may be a highly sensitive appreciation to beauty, right? It may be.
Yeah.
If that's it, that's it.
Right. That's cool. Right.
Or it may be taking a look at your own view and defining and judging what beauty is.
Right.
Or it may be they want to bring me to the television screen. That's why they have these women as anchors and etc. You, again, go to your news outlets. I watch the same ones. But we would like to continue this conversation, this debate, this dialogue in real time with real people, right? In person, right? Or virtually, whatever the case may be. As well as those who may not agree with what we say. We invite you to be our guest as well, right? That's one thing that we do here at Diversity Conversations is we have the conversation.
Right.
Until our next time, thank you for joining us every Saturday morning here at Diversity Conversations. Take care of yourself and each other.
Take care now.